In one of New York's most opulent hotels, the Marigold Grand, there was an elderly janitor, so stooped and shabbily dressed that no one wanted to go near him. He had no name. No one bothered to ask. To most of the staff there, he was just a shadow wandering the luxurious hallways, unworthy of attention, unworthy of respect. But then one day, the old man vanished, and no one even noticed. Until a false accusation shook the entire hotel. A gentle, orphaned female employee, turned against by the entire system, was pushed to the depths of despair, all because her kindness had touched upon an ugly truth they desperately wanted to conceal. And just as they were about to cruelly finalize her dismissal, the nameless old man suddenly returned, no longer in his dirty overalls, no longer with his old mop, but in an elegant suit, his platinum hair neatly combed, his gaze authoritative, and a declaration that would compel all who had once scorned him to their knees. "I am Rodrigo Pontalba, the owner of this very hotel." But what would make a billionaire owner disguise himself as a janitor? What made an orphan girl like Lisa the only one to treat him with kindness? And why would the most senior staff at the Marigold Grand end up as criminals in the dock? Behind the seven-star hotel's glittering facade lay secrets that would send shivers down your spine, games of power, conspiracies to turn black into white, and a small act of kindness, enough to change a person's destiny. Today's story isn't just about the dramatic reveal of an undercover boss. It's an affirmation: never look down on others, simply because they don't look like you. If you're ready, let's begin this emotional journey of tears and justice, of Lisa, the janitor with a kind heart, and Mr. Rodrigo, the owner behind the mop, with a plan that would shake the entire hotel to its core. Lisa lived with her maternal grandparents in a run-down apartment in a poor Brooklyn neighborhood. She was the sole provider for her family after her mother passed away in an accident, and her father was a figure she had no memory of. Her grandparents had raised Lisa, and now, as they were old and frail, she was the only one carrying the weight of the entire family on her shoulders. Lisa's job was as a cleaner at the Marigold Grand Hotel, one of the most luxurious hotels in Manhattan. Every day, she had to leave for work very early to make her shift. But that morning, everything began with a series of small injustices that everyone considered normal. She was stuck in heavy traffic on the Manhattan Bridge, scrunched in the back seat of an old taxi, sweat beading on her forehead. The driver kept stealing glances at her legs in the rearview mirror, forcing Lisa to place her handbag on her lap, shielding herself from his unsettling gaze. "Excuse me, sir. Is there another route with less traffic?" she asked, her voice trying to maintain politeness. "If there was, I'd have taken it. Just relax. Don't be in such a hurry," he retorted, a suggestive smirk playing on his lips. Lisa bit her lip. She was used to the teasing, the harassment, the judgments based on her appearance, but being used to it didn't mean she wasn't tired of enduring it. She was running late for work, and she hated the feeling of helplessness, knowing she was in the right, yet still being treated like someone inferior. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, Lisa asked him to stop the car, paid her fare, and started running. She took off her high heels, carrying them in her hand, and dashed across stretches of scorching pavement, the soles of her feet burning, her shirt soaked with sweat, her hands trembling with anxiety. "Any later and Jim will chew me out," she muttered to herself. Jim, Lisa's direct supervisor, was notoriously difficult, always nitpicking, and especially hated employees being late. As she stood by the roadside, catching her breath, a sleek black car suddenly pulled up in front of her. The window rolled down, revealing the handsome, sharp features of a man. "Get in, Lisa," he said, his voice gentle. Lisa was stunned. It was Alvin, a senior manager at the Marigold Grand, the man all the female staff whispered about as their dreamy boss. But Lisa had never thought herself prominent enough to be noticed by him, even though her heart had fluttered a few times for him. "Come on, get in. I just saw you running down the street. Traffic's terrible. It'll be hard to find another ride now." Alvin smiled. Lisa hesitated for a moment, then opened the door and got in. The gentle fragrance inside the car seemed to soothe her frayed nerves. "Thank you. Thank you, sir," she said, scratching her head sheepishly. "No need to be so formal. I remember you from your interview. You were the first person to smile when you entered the room. That's not easy, because I was wearing an unironed shirt that day." Alvin chuckled, making Lisa laugh along. She hadn't expected someone in his position to be so open and approachable. They chatted all the way to the hotel. Lisa talked about the traffic, about the difficulties of working the morning shift, about how she struggled to support her grandparents. Alvin listened, without judgment, without interrupting. "You're a good person, Lisa," he said before they got out of the car. "If anything comes up, don't hesitate to tell me." Lisa could only nod, her heart feeling a little lighter. Even though she knew her boss being nice to her didn't mean she'd be excused for being late. But just the fact that he didn't see her as invisible, that alone was precious. And she had no idea that just a few hours later, that very small act of kindness would thrust her into the middle of an unimaginable storm, where she would have to confront ruthless people, a corrupt system, and earth-shattering secrets waiting to be exposed. When Lisa and Alvin walked into the Marigold Grand Hotel, she immediately felt dozens of eyes on her, gazes filled with curiosity, judgment, and even jealousy. They walked through the grand lobby, where sparkling chandeliers reflected off the polished marble floor, and headed towards the staff break room. Lisa didn't dare look anyone in the eye, just kept her head down, clutching her bag tightly. Inside the break room, as usual, there was a simmering tension among the different groups of staff. When the door opened and everyone saw Lisa with Alvin, the handsome, single man admired by the entire hotel, the atmosphere instantly changed. Jim, Lisa's direct supervisor, was sitting with his feet propped up on a table, looking up with a mocking expression. Well, finally decided to remember you have a job, princess." Lisa swallowed hard, about to explain, when Alvin spoke first. "She was with me. I asked Lisa to help me move a few things to my place before her shift. If anyone needs confirmation, just ask me." Jim forced a smile, not daring to argue. Although he was a long-time manager, Alvin was higher up, with a direct line to the hotel's executive board. Lisa knew very well if Alvin hadn't spoken up for her, her shift would have been cut immediately. But when Alvin left, everything immediately went back to its familiar orbit. Jessie, a female colleague known for her fair skin, voluminous permed hair, and arrogant demeanor, stepped forward to block Lisa's path, quite the way to make an impression. Lisa, playing innocent gets you a ride right to the door from the boss. I bet helping move things was really exhausting, wasn't it? Lisa froze. Before she could reply, Jessie leaned in close, whispering, "Looks like you know how to charm the right people." "Don't think I didn't see the way you look at Alvin." Lisa pressed her lips together. She had been a target of Jessie's sarcastic remarks many times, but this was the first time it felt like a blatant insult. Still, she tried to remain calm. Anyone would smile if they got a ride on a hot day. That's just politeness, not charming anyone. Jessie smirked. About to say more when another colleague named Trina intervened. "Come on, guys. We have a lot of guests today. Let's not start anything." Jessie huffed coldly, but walked away. Lisa returned to her locker corner, letting out a long sigh. In her mind, she silently reminded herself, stay quiet to survive. Just do your job well, and that's enough. But reality wasn't as simple as she thought. Throughout that day, Lisa was consistently assigned difficult tasks, cleaning rooms with incidents, covering shifts unexpectedly, and even being called upstairs only to be reprimanded for standing in the wrong place. She knew it clearly. It wasn't a coincidence. It was Jim and Jessie's way of pressuring her to quit. At lunchtime, Lisa had to eat alone outside in the courtyard because Jessie had openly forbidden her from using the central table in the dining room. And then, like a knife twisting in her humiliation, Jessie appeared again, tapping her spoon against Lisa's lunchbox. Such a model employee, seducing the boss while playing the poor girl with your cold lunch. Lisa managed a tired smile. She knew the more she resisted, the more she'd be accused. She had no power, no friends. In this place, she was just a name on the HR list, easily replaceable, easily smeared. And then, while her spirit grew cold from the caustic words, a tattered old man unexpectedly walked into the dining area. Lisa looked at him silently. The old man's eyes were lined with wrinkles, but his gaze was very gentle, as if he were looking at his own granddaughter suffering. No one invited him in. No one offered him food. Only Lisa, in her exhaustion, took half of her own lunch and offered it to him. "I only have this much, but please, you eat it. Don't go hungry." She had no idea that this simple act, offering a meal, was the moment her life would begin to change course. Lisa pushed the lunchbox towards the old man with both hands, without any hesitation. Next to her was an empty chair, sunlight filtering through the awning, illuminating his pale skin, marked with age spots, cracks, and the traces of time. But when he smiled, everything seemed to melt away. "Thank you, child. You truly are a good person," he said, his eyes moist but radiant. "I don't remember the last time someone shared their food with me." Lisa smiled gently, her voice sincere. "It's nothing, sir. I'm just not very hungry today. And I think you need it more than I do." They sat in silence for a while. The old man ate each bite of the cold rice as if it were the most luxurious feast of his life. Lisa watched his trembling hands, hands that had endured years of labor, now still struggling with life on the fringes of society. After a few minutes, he looked at her, then asked in a timid voice, "You work at the Marigold Grand Hotel, don't you?" "I'm looking for a job. Do you know if they're hiring anywhere?" Lisa thought for a moment. Given his age and appearance, there was only one position she'd heard was still vacant: janitorial staff. A grueling job few wanted. "I'm not sure, but I think our department might need another janitor. But do you know how to read and write?" "Sir?" He gave an embarrassed smile. "I finished elementary school. I can write my name, read some signs, but my health is still quite good." Lisa nodded, her eyes lighting up with hope. "Then come back here tomorrow. Around this time, bring your papers, even if they're simple. I'll take you to meet HR. Oh, and if you can, wear a slightly cleaner shirt, sir, because the recruiters, they look at appearances first." He chuckled softly, nodding repeatedly. "I understand. I understand. Let me see if I have any decent clothes left. Thank you so much, little girl." Lisa smiled too, her heart feeling a bit lighter after a stressful day. Before standing up, he handed the empty lunchbox back to her, bowing his head like a person full of gratitude. "This is the first time someone has called me a human being, not a nuisance. You've reminded me of faith in kindness." Lisa watched him walk out of the dining area, his gait uneven, the soles of his shoes worn almost to the ground, but his shoulders, compared to a few minutes earlier, seemed much lighter. And she had no idea that this seemingly insignificant man was actually the most powerful person in the entire hotel, the person who, just a few days later, would become the strongest pillar of support in her life. The next day, true to his word, the old man returned. He wore the same old clothes, but this time they had been washed clean and ironed as flat as possible. His white shirt was faded, his ripped jeans patched haphazardly with black thread, but he stood tall, holding a simple folder of documents, his face full of hope. Lisa saw him from a distance and waved cheerfully. "You're here. I was worried you wouldn't find suitable clothes today. I don't have anything nicer, but I'm here with all seriousness." He smiled, his silver hair fluttering gently in the breeze. "It's okay, sir. Just trust me. I'll take you to meet the HR department. By the way, what's your name? I didn't get a chance to ask yesterday." "Just call me Mr. Rodney," he replied, his eyes, though surrounded by wrinkles, shining brightly. On the way into the hotel, Lisa walked slower than usual, not because she was tired, but because she was worried others would notice Mr. Rodney and give him attitude. Despite this, he maintained a gentle smile, without a hint of apprehension. But, as if it were an omen, Jessie suddenly appeared right in front of the elevator. Her eyes scanned Mr. Rodney from head to toe. Then she let out a scornful laugh. "Lisa, who is this man? Your father or your boyfriend?" Before Lisa could reply, Jessie tilted her head, speaking louder. "Oh, that's right. I forgot you don't have parents to take anywhere." An invisible dagger pierced Lisa's heart. She clenched her fists but kept her voice calm. "Jessie, if you don't have anything decent to say, please get out of the way. I'm taking Mr. Rodney for an interview." Jessie rolled her eyes, smirking disdainfully. "An interview where? The dog kennel behind the kitchen, because with that appearance, it's definitely not the Marigold Grand." Lisa silently led him into the elevator. "But Mr. Rodney just smiled faintly. "It's all right, child. People like that, they only live by appearances." When they reached the HR management floor, Lisa took him straight to Jim's office, the person who directly managed the cleaning staff. Jim was sitting behind his desk, feet propped on a chair, a toothpick in his mouth. When he saw Lisa and Mr. Rodney walk in, he put his feet down, his eyes turning sharp and cold. "What's this, Lisa? Are you bringing a beggar into the hotel?" Lisa took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Sir, Mr. Rodney is here to apply for a janitor position." "I think he can handle it." Jim burst out laughing, stood up, and walked around his desk, getting close to Mr. Rodney. He sniffed, pretending to smell something unpleasant. "Are you kidding me, Lisa? You bring some smelly old man, dressed like he just stumbled out of a bus station, in here looking for a job? What's wrong with you, Mr.?" Rodney still wore a gentle smile, showing no reaction. Lisa saw that, and it made her angrier than anything. "Mr. Jim, I know he doesn't look like the others, but he needs a job, and I believe he'll do well." Jim turned back, slamming his hand on the desk. "I need someone strong, agile, preferably female. Not this bag of bones." Lisa clenched her fists tighter, tears welling up, but she swallowed them back. At least, he came with sincere intentions, unlike many people here who talk a good game but have rotten characters. Jim's eyes widened, and he took another step forward. "You want to lose your job? I can fire you right now." "You can fire me, but don't insult Mr. Rodney, because at least he's a human being," Lisa said definitively. At that moment, the entire room seemed to freeze. Rodney still wasn't angry. He just said softly, "Thank you, Lisa. It's okay. Maybe this place isn't for me, but I'm happy I got to try." Lisa walked him to the elevator. Before the doors closed, he looked at her, his eyes glistening but resolute. "You tried your best. As for the rest, let heaven take care of it." Lisa stood watching the elevator descend, her heart sinking, unsure if it was due to anger, self-pity, or a premonition that things were far from over. That evening, as soon as her shift ended, Lisa immediately hailed the first taxi back to Brooklyn. Her phone screen was still lit up with a text message from her grandfather. "Lucy's in the hospital. Doctors say it's critical. Come home immediately." Her heart pounded relentlessly. Every minute on the way home felt like an eternity. She pressed her hand to her chest, trying to steady her breathing, but the worst images flooded her mind. Grandma Lucy, the woman who had sacrificed her entire life to raise her, lying cold on a hospital bed. When Lisa arrived at the hospital, Mr. Casey, her maternal grandfather, was sitting in a daze outside the emergency room. He looked up at his granddaughter, his face wrinkled with worry. My dear girl, your grandmother has been in terrible abdominal pain since this afternoon. I'm afraid I'm going to lose her." Lisa took his hand, trying to reassure him. "It's going to be okay. Grandpa, I'm here now. The good doctors will take care of everything." But just then, the room door swung open. A doctor stepped out, holding a file, his voice calm, as if he were announcing the weather. "The patient, Lucy, has a large tumor on her ovary. Unfortunately, if she doesn't undergo surgery urgently within the next 2 to 3 days, the risk of complications is very high." Lisa was stunned into silence. The cost for the surgery is approximately $100,000. This includes medication and post-operative care, an unimaginable sum. With a salary of just $1,500 every 2 weeks. Lisa knew she could work for 2 more years and still might not even reach half that amount. "Mr." Casey dropped his glasses, muttering as if in a dream. We have nothing to sell. The house is already mortgaged. Our pension is just enough to eat. And Lisa, she's still working as a cleaner." Lisa squeezed his hand tightly. "It's okay, Grandpa. I'll find a way. Even if I have to work 3 jobs, 4 shifts a day, I will save Grandma." But as she left the hospital that night, she walked in a daze. New York City felt colder than usual late at night. The sounds of car horns faded into the distance, streaks of light smearing on the wet pavement, blurred by her tear-filled eyes. She arrived home close to 1 a.m. The apartment was silent, except for the ticking of the wall clock. Lisa sank to the floor, holding her head, her whole body trembling. She didn't know where to begin. Loan sharks. No way. Beg her boss. Jim too dangerous. Alvin impossible. She didn't want to be further indebted to a good person. Then, the next morning, despite not having slept a wink, Lisa still arrived at the hotel on time. She walked in with dark circles under her eyes but forced a smile. Everyone looked at her as if she were invisible, except for Jim, who approached her and immediately snapped. "Why do you look like a zombie, Lisa? You think I'd let an employee with a face like that serve guests?" Lisa lowered her head. "I'm sorry. It's just my grandmother is in the hospital. I really need this job." Jim crossed his arms, eyeing her from head to toe. "Everyone has problems. But do you think, in that state, you can clean a luxury suite properly if you break something and the guest sues? Who's going to take responsibility?" Lisa swallowed her tears. "I can do it. I just need more hours, extra shifts, any work at all. I need money for my grandmother's surgery." Jim looked at her, his eyes narrowing. For a fleeting moment, Lisa saw something unsettling in his eyes. He gave a faint, cold smile. "If you really need money, then follow me. I have an extra job opportunity for you." She hesitated, but then still followed him up to his office on the 4th floor. And there, she discovered a shocking secret. Jim wasn't just a tyrannical manager, but he was also running an extremely shady after-hours project involving Jessie, Trina, and things no decent employee would want to be involved in. Lisa understood immediately if she agreed, she'd get money quickly. But if she refused, trouble would follow. She clenched her fists. "I'm not someone who sells their soul. I refuse." And just as Lisa turned her back and walked out of the office, she didn't know that decision would push her into a spiral of resentment, where those who seemed like colleagues were actually secretly preparing a trap. 3 days later, the hospital began to press Lisa to pay the deposit for the surgery. She was on the verge of collapsing. Every day, she worked overtime, taking on even guest rooms with special requests, sometimes having to work late into the night. That afternoon, while Lisa was cleaning on the 6th floor, Jim suddenly called her to his office. His voice was unusually serious. "There's a special guest room, 123. It belongs to a close friend of mine, a foreigner. He hasn't returned yet, but I want you to clean it immediately so it's ready when he gets back. If anything gets broken, you're responsible, and remember to lock the room carefully." Lisa nodded, not daring to argue. She just hoped to finish everything quickly and leave early so she could worry about the hospital fees. But when she opened the door to room 123, Lisa froze. The room looked like a battlefield, clothes strewn everywhere, muddy shoes, beer cans, and cigarette butts scattered all over. The mixed smell of cheap perfume, strong liquor, and cigarette smoke made her cover her nose. She started cleaning. As she picked up a jacket that had fallen near a drawer, she suddenly spotted a black wallet lying on the floor. She picked it up, intending to put it back in its proper place, when she inadvertently saw inside a thick wad of cash. Over $10,000. Lisa was startled. She didn't touch the money, just quickly put the wallet back in the drawer, closing it carefully as if she had never opened it. "Oh my God, this amount of money is equal to several years of my salary," she whispered, her heart heavy. She finished the rest of her work quickly, carefully checked all the appliances, then locked the room and returned the key to the front desk. That evening, in the break room, just as Lisa was about to leave, she heard dramatic whispers. Something big happened. A foreign guest lost his wallet, and there was a lot of cash in it. I heard it was up to $10,000. Who else cleaned that room today besides Lisa? She froze. All eyes turned towards her. Lisa shot up, her heart pounding erratically. What? What are you all talking about? I didn't take anything, Jessie, standing behind her, arms crossed, a smirk playing on her lips as if she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Oh, you didn't take anything, but the wallet disappeared right after you cleaned the room. Is there a camera to prove it? Lisa took a step back, her voice trembling. I found the wallet. It's true. I opened it to check for identification. Then I put it back in the drawer. I swear I didn't touch anything else, Trina. Now also chiming in. Swear. The ones who swear the most are often the best at hiding things. Jim appeared shortly after, as if he already knew the outcome. He didn't say much, just ordered, open all the staff lockers. Check them immediately. The search began. Locker after locker was opened. Nothing found until they reached Lisa's locker. And then the black wallet was sitting right there in her locker compartment, right on top of her personal cleaning cloths. Intact, full of money. The air grew thick. Lisa was stunned. "No, it can't be," she stammered. "It wasn't there." "Someone put it there," Jim growled. "You're the only one with the key. Don't make a fuss. Everyone saw it with their own eyes. What else do you have to say?" Lisa looked around. Everyone avoided her gaze. No one defended her. Jessie was leaning against the wall, gently patting Trina's shoulder as if they had just successfully concluded a play. Lisa burst into tears. "I didn't do anything. Someone framed me. I wouldn't trade my family's honor for that amount of money," Jim sneered. "Oh, you talk about honor, but we have evidence. Call security." She was escorted to the management office. Before her lay a dark future, not just losing her job, but potentially facing criminal charges. Everything collapsed, and Lisa, the girl who had lived by kindness, was standing on the precipice where everything seemed to be over. It was just that. She didn't yet know that an unexpected character was about to walk in and change everything. Lisa was pushed into the hotel's administrative meeting room. She sat hunched in a corner of the table, her face pale. Opposite her were Jim, Jessie, Trina, and at the head of the table, in the chairman's seat, was Mr. Lopez, the senior administrative director, who would make the disciplinary decision. Alvin, the senior manager, was also present, but he just stood silently by the window, his gaze fixed on Lisa, as if waiting for something. Jim rapped his knuckles on the table, beginning the hearing. "Director Lopez, we have checked all the lockers and the missing wallet was found precisely in employee Lisa's locker. She was also the only person who cleaned that room today." Lisa jumped up, her eyes welling with tears. "I didn't do it. I already said. I saw the wallet and I put it back where it belonged. Someone put it in my locker." Jessie laughed, her voice as sweet as a snake's. "And who could have put it in your locker without a key, Lisa? Or were you tricked by a ghost?" Lisa turned to Alvin, desperately seeking a final shred of belief. "Sir Alvin, you know I'm not that kind of person. I'd rather lose my job than do something so despicable." Alvin just looked at her, then nodded slowly, but he said nothing. "Mr. Lopez spoke, his voice grave. "If there is no evidence to exonerate you, Lisa, we will be forced to suspend your employment and forward your case to the police for due process. Stealing guest property is a serious offense." All eyes focused on the small girl trembling like a leaf. And just at that moment, the door burst open. A deep, warm voice resonated from behind. "If you gentlemen need proof, I have it." Everyone turned around. Mr. Rodney walked in, still in his janitor's uniform, holding a cell phone. Jim angrily shot to his feet. "What are you doing here? This is a place for management-level staff, not for some stinking janitorial riffraff." Rodney didn't react. He placed the phone on the table, pushing it towards Alvin. "There's a video on this. I think everyone should watch it." Alvin opened it. An image appeared. Jessie, Trina, and Jim gathered in the parking lot behind the hotel. Clear voices could be heard. "Put the wallet in Lisa's locker. That naive girl won't dare to fight back. Remember to do it at the right time. Don't let the cameras see. Don't worry. After this, that little brat will be out of the hotel." The room fell into a deathly silence. Jim's eyes bulged. Jessie's jaw dropped. Trina stepped back, her hands trembling. Fake video. Dubbed these cheap tricks. Jim yelled. Rodney smiled, very calmly. And then he raised his hands and began to remove his disguise. Layer by layer, the silver wig, the artificial skin on his neck, the reading glasses, and then the temporarily attached beard. Everyone sat there, stunned. The ordinary man in the janitor's uniform suddenly transformed back into his true self, a powerful, strong, and familiar face. Only Director Lopez recognized him first, jumping to his feet. "Oh my God, Mr. Rodrigo Pontalba." Rodney was indeed Rodrigo Pontalba, the chairman and founder of the Marigold Grand Hotel chain. Alvin smiled. "Allow me to introduce everyone. He's not just a janitor, but the owner of this place." Jessie slumped into her chair. Jim froze. No one could utter a word. Rodrigo stood tall, his voice calm. "I disguised myself as an employee to see how rotten the culture in my own hotel had become. And I never expected it to be this corrupt." He turned to Lisa. "You saved me with a box of cold rice and genuine kindness. And today, it's my turn to repay that." Lisa burst into tears, speechless. Rodrigo looked Jim straight in the eye. "You are fired, effective immediately, and you will be prosecuted for conspiracy to fabricate false evidence, along with threatening a subordinate employee. Jessie, Trina, the same goes for you." Jessie panicked, jumped up, and tried to run, but security personnel had already appeared. She only had time to glare at Lisa with resentment before being escorted out of the room. Jim yelled, "Who is she, that you trust her so much?" Rodrigo replied, gently yet sharply, "She was the only one who didn't see me as trash. And that is enough to believe." Lisa sank down, covering her face with her hands. All the humiliation, injustice, and endurance only now dared to escape as sobs, and she had no idea her life was officially turning a new page from this moment on. The police arrived just a few minutes later, carrying a pre-prepared investigation file. No one had suspected that during the entire time Lisa was being wronged, Mr. Rodrigo and Alvin had been secretly cooperating with law enforcement, step by step gathering evidence of a dirty operation hidden within this very luxurious hotel. Jim, Jessie, and Trina were led out of the meeting room amidst the horror of the entire staff. Some quickly bowed their heads to avoid eye contact, while others silently turned away, as if wanting to completely disassociate themselves. Lisa stood in the gradually emptying room, not knowing whether to cry or laugh. Her hands still trembled as she looked at the wallet, the evidence of the conspiracy lying on the table like a bitter symbol of kindness exploited. Alvin approached, handing her a glass of water. "You have nothing to be afraid of anymore. It's all over." Lisa looked at him, her throat tight. I thought I was going to be fired." that no one would ever believe me again for the rest of my life. Rodrigo came closer, his eyes softer than ever. Not only are you not fired, but I owe you an apology for letting you endure so much pain for so long. If it weren't for you, this whole affair would never have been exposed. Lisa bowed her head, tears falling onto her hands. The whispers, the disdainful looks, the nights spent scrubbing floors until midnight just to earn extra money. It all seemed to rush back and then dissipate when those words echoed, "I believe you." The next morning, the hotel's internal notice board was covered with announcements. Jim permanently dismissed, facing criminal prosecution. Jesse suspended indefinitely, facing investigation for illegal recording and distribution of prohibited content. Trina accomplice, stripped of all employee benefits. The atmosphere at the Marigold Grand felt as if it had been cleansed. Those who had once remained silent in the face of injustice now began to look at Lisa with different eyes, no longer as a victim, but as a survivor. When Lisa entered the staff break room, everyone fell silent. Then one person, Beth, stood up. "Lisa, I'm sorry. I was wrong about you before." Lisa just smiled gently. "I've also been wrong about many people, but in the end, the truth is still the truth, and kindness isn't always trampled on." She didn't say it to be smug. She said it to remind herself that even though she had been dragged to rock bottom, she hadn't lost herself. Later that day, Mr. Rodrigo invited Lisa to his private office. For the first time, he wasn't wearing his janitor's uniform, but an elegant grey suit, his eyes holding the profound wisdom of an experienced man. Lisa almost didn't recognize him. I almost forgot to call you chairman," she said, embarrassed. Rodrigo chuckled. "Just keep calling me Rodney. That name helped me see people's true hearts." After a moment of silence, he said something that left Lisa speechless. "The surgical expenses for your grandmother, I've already paid them. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you, sir." She burst into tears. Rodrigo stood up, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You don't owe me anything. You were the one who saved me from a deceitful environment. And now, I'm going to give you something you deserve." Lisa looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "Starting next week, you will be the housekeeping staff supervisor, replacing Jim." She was astonished. An ordinary janitor, now being offered the very position of the person who had threatened and bullied her. Lisa's heart felt like it would burst. "Aren't you afraid I'm not skilled enough?" she asked softly. Rodrigo smiled. "True kindness always learns quickly, and I believe you will do better than anyone else." That evening, when she returned home, Lisa hugged her grandparents and told them everything. Grandma Lucy's eyes welled with tears, while Grandpa Casey silently placed his hand on her head and said, "My granddaughter is the best in the world." Lisa smiled, but it was the smile of someone who had weathered the storm and still held on to their faith in the light. Just 3 days after Jesse was fired and escorted from the hotel, Lisa thought everything was over, But she didn't realize that evil sometimes doesn't easily accept defeat. That evening, Lisa had just finished her shift, and a light rain began to fall. The streetlights cast shimmering reflections on the wet sidewalk, and a cold wind whipped through her thin clothes. She was waiting for the bus at the stop next to the hotel, a deserted street, with few people around near midnight. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from behind. A black van screeched to a halt right at the curb. The door slid open. A female figure lunged out, yanking Lisa's arm hard. It was Jessie. In that moment of shock, Lisa only had time to see eyes blazing with hatred, a gleaming folding knife in Jessie's hand, and a loose handcuff still dangling from one of her wrists, proof that she had just escaped from custody. You think you won, Lisa. You think you can live peacefully after destroying me. Lisa recoiled, her hands protectively across her body, her voice trembling. Jessie, you're insane. The police are looking for you. Stop this. Shut up, Jessie roared, lunging forward. I've lost everything. My job, my reputation, my entire future. And it's all because of you. Everything you lost, you brought upon yourself. I didn't do anything. You're the one who set up that dirty trick, Lisa retorted, for the first time not backing down. Jessie pointed the knife, her lips trembling with rage. I used to have everything, and you, a poor, uncultured girl, just had to smile nicely and play the victim to get the whole hotel handed to you. No, Lisa, you don't deserve a happy ending. Lisa stood still, not running. You're right, I have nothing, but at least I don't live by stepping on others. And if you plan to end me today, then go ahead. But you know what, Jessie? You'll never beat me, because I don't hold grudges. That statement seemed to make Jessie pause for a second. The knife was still pointed at Lisa, but her hand began to tremble. And just at that moment, the wail of a police siren pierced the night. 3 officers rushed from behind. Drop the knife. Drop it now. A loud bang rang out. It didn't hit anyone, but it was enough to make Jessie stumble and fall onto the sidewalk. The knife clattered away, spinning on the cold concrete. She was subdued on the spot, still screaming hysterically. Lisa, I won't forgive you. You'll never be at peace. You'll never get to live happily. Lisa watched silently, without fear, without trembling. She only felt pity. A person, once beautiful, once with a future, now just a writhing shadow, consumed by her own bitterness. The next morning, Lisa arrived at the hotel with a heavy heart. She didn't tell anyone what happened the night before, not wanting to attract more pitying glances. But when Alvin approached, as if he already knew, he said softly, "The police called me. They said you were very brave. Are you okay?" Lisa nodded, smiling faintly. "I thought I would panic, but for some reason, I just felt calm. Maybe because I knew justice eventually comes, even if it's a little late." Alvin smiled. "You're stronger than anyone in this hotel." Lisa. That evening, Lisa went home and sat by her grandmother's bed, who was recovering after surgery. She told the story, gently, without embellishment. "Mr. Casey listened, his hand gripping his granddaughter's, his eyes stinging. My granddaughter is no longer a timid little girl. Lisa just smiled. But in her heart, she knew it was precisely those pains, those falls, that had forged her strongest wings, and from now on, she would no longer fear injustice. Because she had learned the most important thing: light never succumbs to darkness. It just waits for the right person to shine. A week after the incident, the atmosphere at the Marigold Grand seemed to have completely changed. The reception lobby no longer had scrutinizing gazes. The staff break room was bustling but no longer tense. And the most special thing, Lisa's name, was now on the management roster, under supervisor, housekeeping. She was given the position Jim once held, not because of a fight, nor because of special favors, but because she had survived, been kind, stood firm, and deserved it. On her first morning in her new role, Lisa walked into the HR meeting room with a name tag Manager Lisa M. Casey pinned to her chest. Everyone stood up and applauded. Not a forced applause, but applause for someone everyone knew had endured so much suffering. Rodrigo, now back in his main office, stood up, nodding at her. You haven't just had your honor restored. You've also been given responsibility. From today, you are the one who upholds the ethical standards for all housekeeping staff in this hotel. Lisa was silent for a few seconds. Then she bowed her head. I don't promise to be perfect, but I promise I will never ignore wrongdoing, no matter how small. Alvin smiled with pride. Under Lisa's leadership, the once despised staff began to receive proper training. She organized small weekly chat sessions, not just to provide professional guidance, but to listen to their concerns, aspirations, and difficulties. Trina, who had once sided with Jesse, returned with a completely different attitude. She apologized to Lisa with all sincerity and was accepted. We can make mistakes, but what's important is whether we dare to correct them and live differently. Lisa had once told the entire team, and if I, from a falsely accused janitor, can stand here today, then you too can step out of your own darkness. The atmosphere in the break room changed day by day. People no longer gossiped about who was seducing the boss, who was playing innocent, or who was about to be fired. Instead, they talked about extra shifts, bonuses, the joy of receiving a guest's tip, or simply a thank you when someone helped pick up a fallen mop. A month later, Lisa was honored as the best manager of the quarter for the entire chain. The award plaque wasn't extravagant, but for Lisa, it was the clearest evidence of a journey of resurrection, rising from the bottom of society through her own integrity. During the awards ceremony, Rodrigo stepped up to speak. Some people are born to stand at the top, but there are also those who have to crawl through mud to reach solid ground. And sometimes, it is precisely those people who have the firmest footing. He turned to Lisa, placing a hand on her shoulder. Thank you, not just for your kindness, but for daring to live decently in a world that constantly tests us. Lisa shed tears, but this time they were tears of happiness. That evening, when she got home, Grandma Lucy, recovering successfully from her surgery, sat on her bed, stroking her granddaughter's head. "The day your mother died, I thought our family line was hopeless, but now I see the light is still there." Lisa took her grandmother's hand, replying softly, "Because you were the one who kept the flame alive in me all these years." She stood up, looking out the small window. New York was still crowded, still noisy, still had countless injustices somewhere. But Lisa knew, at least, at the Marigold Grand, the place that had once dragged her through the mud, there was now a small, bright light bearing her own name. Lisa's story is not a fairy tale. There are no magic spells, no princes to the rescue. Only a young woman living in a giant city who, every day, had to brace herself against prejudice, emotional abuse, and the abuse of power, using the only thing she had: unwavering kindness and integrity. And it was precisely these seemingly weak things that helped her stand firm and overcome it all. The day Lisa officially took on the role of managing the entire housekeeping department was also the day Rodrigo invited her into his private office. He handed her a small, old, but intricately designed key. "This is the key to an apartment I've kept vacant for the past 5 years. I originally intended to rent it out, but no one could maintain it. I want to invite you and your grandparents to move in, not out of pity, but because I want to thank you in the most practical way possible." Lisa was choked with emotion. Gripping his hand tightly, "I don't know what else to say besides thank you. But I promise, I will make my life a gift in return for everyone's trust." From that day on, Lisa began a larger mission to change the HR culture within Marigold Grand. She proposed building an anonymous reporting system for employees to report harassment. She recommended monthly psychological training courses and organized team-building activities to foster connection. No one forced her to do these things. But she understood if she didn't stand up, there would be another Lisa pushed to the brink in silence. Once again, Alvin met Lisa when they happened to share an elevator. He smiled. "You're the boss now." Feeling the pressure, Lisa shook her head. "No, just grateful and determined not to let anyone else go through what I went through." In the months that followed, Marigold Grand was mentioned in the press not for scandals, but for being the first hotel in New York to have a policy of protecting lower-tier employees with an independent internal monitoring system. Lisa was honored in the chain's internal newsletter, not for her achievements, but for her quiet integrity. She never thought she would become a symbol of change. She only knew that if she could do it all over again, she would still share half of her cold lunch with a strange old man on that outdoor bench that day. Because in that small moment, her life began to turn around. At the end of the road, the most beautiful thing Lisa received wasn't a high salary, not status, but the proud look in her grandparents' eyes, the feeling of knowing she had lived right, the belief that, despite being pushed down into the mud, she had risen, shining brightly like a flower blooming in a gutter. And if you, the person watching this video, are also feeling small amidst the harsh realities of life, remember, no one can extinguish your light if you don't lose it yourself. You don't need power to do the right thing. You just need the courage to stand firm when everyone else turns their back. Because justice may come late, but when it arrives, it will wash away all the hurt you once silently endured.